Welcome to Woodshop 101. This is episode 125 for April 30th, 2018. On today's show, we're going to talk about jigs and pricing your work. I'm Jeremy Crawford of the Countryside Workshop, and I'm joined today by my co-host Drew Short of Rock'n Woodshop and our guest host Matt from MWA Woodworks. And Sam won't be able to be on tonight, and she's going to be really missed. So what's going on, guys?
Show's gonna suck. No, I'm kidding. Nothing against you, Matt. Jeremy and I suck without Sam. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, this is the throwaway episode, right?
Yeah. We might have to do it again if it doesn't go as planned.
Yeah.
We'll have to have him back on when Sam can't bail on us.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we're gonna shout out to our Patreon supporters: Michael Brindle, Devin, Richter, Sean McHenry, Carl Mose, Neil Sims, Eric Rhoten, CW Craftsman, and Josh Luther. Thank you. That's means a lot to us. Helps us.
Got two new ones too.
Yeah, we do. We got two new ones, and it's gonna really help because we're gonna make some changes here in the next month or so. Podcast will move to its own website, and we're gonna have a couple other things going on. So it'll be pretty exciting that your money and help and support is actually going to make a difference. So,
you're actually going to see a return on your investment.
There you go. But
like
if you have to go to the website. So if you'd like to support the show, you can head over to woodshop101podcast.com/listen. Find the show notes for today's episode, and there will be links for small one-time donations and recurring donations. If you want to become a patron of our Patreon campaign, you can head over to patreon.com/woodshop101. You can even go to Woodshop 101 podcast t-shirt, hoodie, or Rev marker pack. Head to countrysideworkshop.com/shop for the link. So let's get into what's going on in the shop. Matt, you want to tell us first what you got going on?
Absolutely, yeah. So I've rearranged my shop for the third time since I've been in the new house, which has been 6 months or so. 7 months now, I guess it is. But I've got that dreaded woodworker's disease where I just can't leave things be where they are. I've got to try to continue to optimize things, and I put in some new electrical outlets, and I'm getting ready to drywall a section that's kind of bare studs right now. So I'm just trying to figure out where I want everything to live until I decide that it needs to live somewhere else.
What's this disease called? Did it have a name?
It's called J. Bates-itis, I think.
He does have that disease. I've seen
that's what I hear. That's what I hear, anyways. So I got that going on in the backdrop, and then I've always got a cutting board that's in some stage of completeness as orders flow through. But then I've just recently finished up a whiskey cabinet build. So I've got a nice little white oak and bird's eye maple whiskey cabinet now sitting on my pie safe in the dining room. And I got a last minute build this in 2 days birthday project for my 3-year-old's birthday. So she's got a new lemonade stand that I whipped together real quick. Yeah, that was super, super great little thing to put together real quick. And what else do I have? Oh, and so then the sort of upcoming, I've got a lathe that I bought in January that's been sitting in the box waiting for me to design and build a stand for it. So that's my shop projects usually get going about this time of year as the cutting board orders slow down a little bit. You know, you get towards the summer and it kind of dies down a little bit. So that's when I get a lot of my shop work and most of my to-do list for the wife done.
Really? Your orders slow down in the summer?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's, it tends to die down in the spring. And I guess there's a little bump up in the summer when you get to like wedding season and everybody's searching for something, you know, to give the bride and groom as a wedding gift. But generally speaking, yeah, it kind of dies down. And I think a lot of that for me has to do with Instagram is kind of it's probably my primary sales channel. It's not my only sales channel. I'm trying to work on that, but Instagram usage in general, I find just slows down in the summertime. I don't know if you guys have noticed that or not, but I think just overall engagement on the platform goes down as people are, whatever, doing their vacationing and summer activities and whatnot. And so things tend to slow down a little bit then for me.
Huh. I guess it's just the type of things that you make, being cutting boards, because my business right now, it was really slow in the wintertime. People recuperating from Christmas gift giving and
yeah, that was me. That was the Christmas gifts. That was me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Once they recouped all their funds, then my orders started picking up more and more, and I assume it's only going to get higher as we get closer to the summertime.
Yeah,
people
that's
are
right.
doing the renovations and stuff like that too.
Oh yeah, that's big time. Absolutely. Yep. After they get their tax money.
Yeah, that's usually. Well, I need to save. Let me wait for my tax refund to come in, and then I should be good. I'm like, okay, a couple more months. But yeah, I have been getting ready for that craft show that I just had yesterday, and as you know, I was in contact with you about a couple things in regards to the cutting boards I was making, and the craft show it wasn't a dedicated show. It was actually an employee appreciation day. So all the teachers and staff that worked at OU, they were, given free food, free ice cream and all that stuff. And then the craft show was just kind of there. And they didn't really come to shop necessarily, even though some people did buy some things. It wasn't the kind of customer base that you were looking for when it came to a dedicated craft show. So I only sold I think 5 bird feeders. Those wine bottle bird feeders, and I didn't sell any cutting boards. So I was breaking my back to make all these cutting boards, and I didn't sell one of them.
And that is the reason I don't do craft shows.
Well, I like the contacts. I like the interactions with people, and I'm trying to diversify how my income is being made, at least right now.
Yeah.
So I don't mind doing them right now. I didn't like the whole aspect of busting my butt to make the same thing over and over again, and making sure that I had enough inventory, especially when I didn't have a place to store it.
Yeah. And you don't know how much you need. You don't know what's going to sell, what's not going to sell. I mean, I guess if you do lots of craft shows and you kind of get a feel for your local area and what people like to buy from you, that makes it a whole lot easier. But if you're just kind of jumping into one, not knowing what to expect, yeah, that's kind of a hard thing to prepare for. And you end up with all those boards not knowing how much you're going to be carrying home with you when the thing is over, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, though, if I wanted to do another craft show, that's less inventory I'm going to have to remake.
That's right. Yep.
So, yeah, I may not have made money, but
how are you going to store the items that you've made now?
Well, luckily enough, there was a woman that I made a contact through probably about 6 months ago, and she has a warehouse right in downtown Moore, and she is giving us space in that warehouse, and it's like a sectioned off room. It's got doors and everything. It's also heat and air condition controlled, so I will probably keep them there. And it's no charge to me as a customer, so she's just a real good friend now. But
nice.
Aside from that, I get to start on a built-in storage bench for a client that I actually made those floating shelves for, so it's a repeat client now. And
those are the best kind.
Done. Yeah, I know, right? But I should have that done by the end of the week, and then I start on a triple barn door setup for another client. So, nice. Be busy.
So I saw you got 10 gallons of mineral oil from Amazon?
Yeah, I found mineral oil for $90 for 5 gallons, and I bought 2 of them.
It's not bad.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a really good deal.
I've been thinking about it, and maybe either one of you have experience with it. I don't know. Walrus oil? Have you guys heard of it?
Yeah, I haven't tried it though.
A company, Walrus Oil. Have you tried it?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I've seen it on Instagram and I've heard people talk about it, but I have myself not used it.
Yeah, I may reach out to them, see, because I don't even know where to get it from. I don't know if you have to order it from them or, but I know they sell it in like the gallon and stuff. And I want to do what you did, Drew. I'm tired of like putting a coat of mineral oil on and then an hour or two later putting a little more on. Like I just want to soak that thing for a couple hours, let it soak it up, and then be done with it. So I want to get a little bin like you did and fill it up with some mineral oil.
Yeah, dude, the ingrains that I showed you, the 2-inch and 1.5-inch thick ones, they actually soaked in for 6 hours because it was so late. I needed to go to bed. I couldn't wait just an hour or two just to take them out. So I just let them sit there for 6 hours. So instead of taking them out and seeing all the oil just kind of soak in as time progressed, they were more like leaching oil. Kind of wipe them off and they leach some more. And like, crap. So yeah, they had as much oil as they were going to take.
Yeah, they gotta reach equilibrium now. You're gonna have the best thing to do is in that case is get some craft paper or newspaper or something like that and sort of pack it around the cutting board, and it will pull some of that mineral oil, whatever the cutting board is willing to give up. It will pull some of that out, and it will stop that, because that's the trick that I kind of had to learn myself, because my early cutting boards, I did the same thing. I just soaked them in mineral oil, and then I would have to give them as a gift to somebody like 2 days later or 3 days later, and like they're still leaching oil through like through the wrapping or what, the cardboard or whatever I had them in. But yeah, you've got to learn when to sort of when the cutting board will not take any more, and there will be, if too much gets in there and like there's a temperature or humidity change and the cutting board contracts, all of a sudden that will start to come back out. Because I was taking them as gifts to my in-laws in Ohio, and that's what would happen is the change in climate would just all of a sudden cause them to start weeping like that. And so that you'll have to figure that out as you make more and see exactly how much they take and when they stop that I call it weeping or crying or whatever, but that's basically what's going on there. You got to stop the crying.
Yeah, it looked like when I got to the craft show, because I'd taken them out the morning of, and I had them sitting on craft paper. I had layer upon layer upon layer of craft paper in between each one, and by the time I got them all packed up and got the box to the craft show, it looked like I was carrying a bunch of greasy hamburgers. So I was like, good Lord. So yeah, they're still leaching a little bit. The face grains are pretty much done. They're not leaching anymore just because there's not a lot of face grain, or excuse me, a lot of end grain on those. But those end grain boards, yeah, there's still spots where they leach.
Yeah, I actually so I changed my process up a while back, and I make a mixture. You've probably seen people that make and sell this, but it's a mixture of beeswax and mineral oil that I just put in a double boiler or a crock pot and then put it in little tins and sell. But that has enough oil in it that for the face grain boards, I just like cover the boards, like slather the boards in that. And what will happen is the wax will, hold the oil to the board until the board, takes all the oil it will take, and then what's left on top is the wax, and then you just buff that out and you're good to go. And I find that works really well on the long grain boards. The in grain boards, I still give them a good dousing of just straight mineral oil first, and then go over it with that mix. But yeah, I think the long grain boards, they don't soak it up like the end grain does, so you don't really have to waste all that mineral oil trying to get it to go into those long grain boards.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's been an experience.
So your long grain boards, you don't actually put mineral oil on outside of the oil wax mixture.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't find that when I try. I guess my early experiments with how to finish those boards I was wasting way more mineral oil than what was actually being used by the board.
Mm-hmm.
And so just incorporating it into my little wax mixture gives it enough oil to protect it.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but I know I gotta make a 1.5 inch thick bamboo cutting board pretty soon, so I may try that. Well, speaking of cutting boards, I just made 6 huge butcher blocks, and I haven't finished them yet. So I may try that instead of doing mineral oil, because I just hate that process, and the fact that they're so large. They're like 2 feet by 3 feet, essentially. So
God.
Yeah, well,
wow.
They're for some barbecuers, so that they're actually using them for like when they smoke ribs and brisket and stuff like that. So they're actually going to be used for big slabs of meat. So I may just go ahead and buy a bunch of oil wax mixture or make it, and then try that instead of actually doing the mineral oil. So.
Yeah, you'll find it works really, really well, and the wax gives the boards just a silky smooth feel, and it does a really good job of protecting them down the road too. So keeping the water from getting to the board.
Yeah. Do you ever on your face grain boards or your edge grain? Do you ever douse them with some or spritz them with water to pre-raise that grain before you apply?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I do that. I do that every time. Yeah, yeah.
I've never done that, and I've never had a problem. But I made back in December the first big piece of butcher block that I made was for my brother, and he was saying that he washed it down the exact way I told him to do it, but it feels real rough. And I heard somebody say maybe a month ago or a couple weeks ago about pre-raising the grain even on that. And I'd never thought about that because I was not finishing it with an oil-based or a water-based finish, but water's still coming in contact with it. So I'm going to...
Yeah.
Never thought about it, but now, I'm glad I heard it now, and I'm glad it was a test dummy on my brother's, because I can always just sand his down versus these other 6 are for customers. So...
I like how you called your brother a dummy.
Yep. Test dummy. That's it.
Hey, that's what family's for, right? Product testing.
That's it. And if anybody's going to test it, it's him. He'll put it through its paces, and he has. He's only had it for a few months.
It's like, oh, your board split? Oh, well, sorry. It was, it was a trial and error.
Yeah, you didn't pay for it, so it doesn't matter.
That's right. I can make you another one next Christmas.
Yep. Oh, your birthday's coming up? Okay, I'll get you one then. So
I've had something like a brainchild in my head too, and I'm gonna make it now because you saved me on the whole cross grain with the spline idea. But something that I've been wanting to do is, okay, whenever you make an ingrain cutting board, your first go around is gluing up the long face grains, just butting them up together. Instead of doing that, I was going to make a sliding dovetail for each one. So there would be a sliding dovetail on like one block. So like this one would have a dovetail here, and then there'd be a mortise on this one and this one. So whenever you slice them up and then turn them up, you would actually see each block joined together with a sliding dovetail.
Yeah, you see the joinery. That'll look cool. And if you do alternate, like walnut maple or something like that to give the joinery a nice contrast, yeah, that's a good idea. I'd be interested to see.
Yeah. You better be asking a hefty price for that, too, because that's a lot of extra work.
I know.
Yeah.
So I'll put it through its paces, Drew. Just go ahead and make it. Send it to me.
Well, that's actually the board I was going to make for the giveaway last year, which I still got to make for him. So now I've got to make 3. One for me. So I am going to keep it.
Essentially you have a whole bunch of cutting boards that you owe him one. You can just send him one of those because before, I'd probably say in the next couple months, we'll be doing the next cutting board build off. So
I could theoretically do that. You don't think he'd be mad, do you?
no, because
just as long as he gets one.
He didn't know that that's the design you were going to do until just now.
Well, actually, I'd kind of told him that I was, but that's been long ago. Maybe he forgot.
Until he's listening to this.
Yeah, he's like, oh, crap.
So, all right. Well, I have several things going on in the shop right now, but one of the biggest ones I have that I've been working on is a coffee table with some metal legs. It was originally for the Instagram Builders Challenge, and I would have had it done. However, I got called to work, and I ended up working for about 48 hours, so I didn't get it done on time, which is kind of a blessing because now I'm adding a couple different elements that I didn't initially plan for. I'm doing essentially like a floating drawer in it, so the top is made out of Malaysian acacia, and it's gonna have on the sides. It's gonna have your X legs. They're made out of metal, and then just right in the center of it, I'm putting a drawer. Probably the drawers. I think I made it. It's about 22 inches, and there's gonna be no aprons, nothing that it's gonna be connecting to. It's essentially going to look like a frame that the drawer slides out of. So it looked pretty cool. Didn't really want to, like I was telling you guys, I'm going out of town Saturday, and I really didn't want to go out of town until this was done. But I'm not going to rush it. I'm down to the final pieces of really finish, and I didn't want to go get lacquer because I'm going to do spray lacquer.
Hey, Todd's also getting on to you,
not
too.
Not the rattle cans. But I have several projects. I got 3 big projects that I need to spray, and I don't want to spray one now, clean up the gun, come home and spray one in a couple weeks. So I'm just going to hold off, and I'm going to spray all 3 of them at the same time. Probably burn through a gallon pretty quickly that way. So I'm going to be spraying Kendra's table with lacquer. I got a deal I've been building the kids that I'm going to spray with lacquer, and then this coffee table. So be a lot of spray lacquer going down.
Yeah, you'll definitely go through a gallon with all that.
Yeah.
What kind of gun do you put that through?
I have a Fuji. I think it's I don't know, whatever. It's something 75. It's their gravity feed gun. And I will be putting it through, I think, a 1.5 needle. So
okay.
The 1.5 millimeter needle or whatever, however it's dictated. But in fact, today, and you actually see it on my stories, I commented on one of their posts a month ago or something, and they had all the 3 of their guns. They had their gravity feed, their siphon cup, and then they have another one that's got it's got a smaller canister that comes off the side of the gun. It's a gravity feed, but essentially, here's the gun. It comes out this way, and the canister sits over here. And they were asking people what they use and if they liked it. And I made the comment, and I was just like, I have the gravity feed, and no, I don't really like it at all because you have to go purchase something or build something in order to hold the cup and hold the gun to fill it. It's kind of troublesome doing it. A gravity feed cup should come with a stand. And they sent me a Facebook message, super awesome. They're like, hey, we totally understand. We want you to have the best possible the best possible experience with our product. And they shipped me their stand for free. And it showed up today, and it's super high quality. Everybody was commenting well, just go to Harbor Freight or go to Northern Tool or this or that, and it's I know I can go buy one, but that was beside the fact of something that you can't just stand up, that you have to physically hold, or something has to hold it so you can hold the filter and pour the can of finish through it. You just don't have that many hands. I shouldn't have to go purchase something else to get it to work.
Yeah.
And I mean, their gun is awesome. Their turbine system is awesome. I love it. But that was just the biggest problem I had was trying to get my finish into the cup and not make a mess or have to have somebody else out there to help. So,
honey,
yeah. And then have my kid out there. Oh, this smells good, Dad. Go back in the house, son.
Yeah.
Stop smelling this. So
yeah, I'm a big fan of the Fuji stuff because my 3-stage siphon fed gun is one of my favorite things to use now, and I use it about once a week because I generally get done with a client's project after about a week. Cleanup's pretty easy. Taking apart the gun's easy, and it just lays down a nice smooth finish. And Fuji's customer service is spot on. I mean, It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you push latex through yours too?
You can with a larger needle.
Yeah.
I haven't, just because I like the gun too much to put latex through it. So I usually do a pigmented pre-cat lacquer, and it's just like spraying paint, but it has the durability of the lacquer built into it. So I haven't used latex, but I have a Rockler siphon fed gun. That's lesser quality, but it's still an HVLP turbine gun that I'll spray latex through.
Yeah. I mean, they say they have enough power to do it. You get the right needle set up, you can do it. But I'm kind of with Drew. I mean, Sherwin-Williams will tint or pigment the lacquer to any color, pretty much any color they have, and it goes on a lot nicer than what a paint will anyway.
Yeah, it flows out a lot easier. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can thin it down; it'll flow out a lot easier.
And dries a lot faster.
So. Oh God, yes.
And smells a lot better.
Yeah.
Makes you feel great.
Yep.
Go get your teeth pulled after one round of spraying.
I'm ready, Doc. Go ahead.
I saved myself on that gas.
Well, we had some questions sent in to us. We actually made some posts on our Instagram and Facebook, and we had some responses. So we picked 3 to go over, and a lot of these are for you, Matt. So,
oh boy,
we can answer some too. But it says this is from Mark Stephenson. What is the jig you could not live without? Or what jig surprised you that you use all the time? So this could be for all of us. So go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I go first. Yeah, no. So I'm kind of a closeted jig junkie. I love it doesn't show up a whole lot on my Instagram because of the whole cutting board thing, but I have a lot of jigs hanging on the wall in my shop that I've made over the years, and whenever I'm reading a woodworking magazine or I see something online that catches my eye, I kind of put that on my to-do list to go try to figure out how to build one of those. But probably the jig that I use the most often that I don't think I would really want to live without is simple. My table saw sled. That thing is rock solid, and it's just a safe way to make cuts on the table saw. True a board up, get it square, get it ready to go. So that's probably my vote as the one that I use the most often and couldn't live without. And then as far as one that is surprisingly useful that I didn't think I would like that much or need that much is an L fence. And I don't know if you guys have gotten any experience with L fences on your table saw or not. But you can use that thing to flush trim stuff if you're doing like edging on a cabinet for the shelves, or if you want to cut a taper in something that's really long. It's a super handy, useful, simple jig that you can just strap on to your rip fence on your table saw. And are you familiar with an L fence? I guess let me ask that.
I'm trying to picture it. So
yeah, I'll do my best to try to explain it. But basically, it's think of 2 pieces of plywood is probably how you would most often make it at a right angle, and you would attach that to either your rip fence or an auxiliary fence. That's probably preferred as an auxiliary fence because you want to be able to have some adjustability, but it essentially juts out over the table saw blade. And so you can almost think of it like a pattern cutter, where you would, like if you were going to cut a taper in something, you would draw your 2 points on the board, and then you could attach a runner to that, tape it down or screw it down or whatever, and then run that along the L fence, and the blade sits sort of flush underneath the L fence. And so anything that passes underneath the L fence gets cut. And I've done some Instagram video on it, just demonstrating the using of it in the past. But it's a neat tool to have in your arsenal, and you can, like I said, there's a couple of really nice applications for it, but you don't often see it. So I think if you probably follow a lot of furniture makers on Instagram or on YouTube, you might see them, but they don't pop up a lot. They're not super popular, but they are super useful.
It sounds extremely useful.
Now you got me perusing your Instagram just to see if I can find it.
Yeah. You might have to dig back a ways. I think it was sometime late last year when I did like 4 or 5 videos in a row, just kind of showing how to set it up and what you might use it for. But it's a nice application if you want to try to use the table saw rather than a router. I shy away from router usage a little bit. It's one of those machines that scares me more than most machines in the shop, handheld wise. I use my router table all the time, but handheld router applications is just one of the things. Like if I can find another way to do it, I tend to do that. And for flush trimming and I guess that would be the main application that would be substituting for a router, but it's a good application. It's a good tool to have in your arsenal.
Well, crap. Now I'm going to have to think of something different, because I was going to say a table saw sled, because that thing is just a workhorse in my shop. Especially with that,
you have to say anything different. I mean, if that's your go-to one, it kind of shows the importance of a table saw sled.
Okay, how about this? A table saw sled with dust collection. There you go.
Yeah.
No, I found with making those cutting boards pretty recently that even with my dust collection, making those suckers is a messy business. It's super dusty.
Yeah, especially the end grain ones, when you got all those multiple cuts to make, and then glue it up, and then cut it again and glue it up, and
and then flush it up, and it's very messy. So I had a lot of cleaning to do today. My favorite jig is probably my table saw sled. But one that surprised me, and it just happened to coincide with cutting boards whenever I made them once before, was a panel cutter. Which is basically just a one-sided table saw sled. It only utilizes one miter jig, and you probably seen or miter slot, and you probably seen Norm Abram on New Yankee Workshop. He had one of these and used it all the time. But I used that for cutting huge panels on one side of my blade whenever I didn't have necessarily the room on the other side of my blade. So I did find that very, very useful, and it was pretty easy to store because it's essentially flat, and the fence on it is just 3/4 inch thick, just something to back your stock up to. So that's probably a good one to have if you don't necessarily have the fence capacity like a 52-inch fence.
Yeah. I would say right now I don't have really any jigs in the shop. In fact, I just threw a bunch of them away about 6 months ago just because I got tired of them sitting around that hadn't been used in a while. I would say that the two that I'm missing the most and are probably like a circular saw sled or a track saw sled. Like I find myself reaching for my 26-inch woodpecker square to act as like a true straight fence when I just need to build another circular saw sled. And then the more time has passed, the more I realize I need a table saw sled. I've never had one, never took the time to build one. Definitely not going to spend the money to buy one because they're stupid expensive if you want to buy a good one. So I would say probably by the end of the year I'll end up building one. And I will probably do a combination of designs between Drew's and Nick Ferry's. I like how Drew's doesn't have a front fence, and I like how Nick's incorporates a lot of the Craig products and how he built a miter set into it. So that would be the two that I would say I miss the most, and that I will build again before too long.
I will say that those sleds are pretty versatile because you can put T-tracks in them and make those jigs that can attach to it, like the miter jig, the spline cutting jig. I've got a couple others that I've got designed. I just haven't made them yet, but they are a super versatile tool, so, or a jig or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it is a workhorse in my shop. Okay, sorry about the dogs. They won't shut up. Quit. Let's see. Next one's from John Graham. What is the best way to develop a price for commissions or project builds?
This one would have been a good one to get Sam's perspective on as well. But I know, Drew, you know you're starting to do a lot of client builds, and you probably have some good insight. You probably have a lot of growth from your first commission several months ago to now, and how you've tweaked things to make it better.
Oh, yeah. Todd had a really big hand in teaching me how to price my work and how to price basically myself, and how I send out invoices to people and what the price sticker is going to be. When you're operating as a business or even part-time, you kind of have to figure what all you're paying for as your overhead, and that has to be broken down into an hourly rate. And that's what you would charge the person for your hourly fee, not to mention the materials. But things like my accountant's fee, my website fee, taxes, and anything that I pay for that is on a yearly basis or monthly basis or whatever, I have to break it down into an hourly rate. So if it's on a yearly fee, then I break it down to 52 weeks. Then I go down even further and break it down into 40 hours a week, and then break it down into 8 hours a day. And once I hit that point, that's how much that yearly fee breaks down into how much it is per hour. And I add all of those together, and that is my shop rate. So whatever I want to pay myself, plus whatever I'm paying for on a yearly or monthly basis, plus the materials, is what I charge. So there's a little bit of math to go into what you charge people and how you want to go about tweaking it. Most people will charge roughly about $50 to $60 an hour, and that's everything included. But sometimes, you know, you have family that you want to accommodate. It's not recommended that you tweak your hourly rate too much, especially because referrals are a huge source of a woodworker's income. And if they get wind that you charge this person this, and that person's going to say, well, why are you charging me more? You kind of get in trouble there. So you have to really pick and choose, and preferably not change your hourly rate if at all possible. And you just kind of have to know what your time is worth and have the courage to specify that. And don't be afraid to say, well, you know, this Murphy bed should cost you $2,400, but I don't know if you're going to take that, so I'm going to charge you $1,200. because you're afraid they're not going to take you up on the deal. So you just got to have the confidence in order to price correctly and know what you're worth and know what your hourly fees are, stuff like that.
What about you, Matt? What do you do? Custom work? Do you do?
No, so I don't really bid out on custom jobs. Pretty much the only thing that I sell to the public is the cutting boards, which for me is a fairly simple equation. As Drew kind of laid out, obviously you want to know. And when you're doing cutting boards, the math's pretty easy because it's this long by this wide by this thick, right? So, and then how much waste you end up generating off that. So generally what you're going to have in it in materials. I do get really nerdy about using spreadsheets and things to kind of figure out what, and I've got several years under my belt of, this is how much I spend in supplies, glue, tape, if I need to purchase more tools, clamps, things like that. I even get down and try to figure out how much more I spend in electricity to run because my shop is part of my house. So I kind of got into figuring out exactly how much I am spending on to keep the lights on and the tools running and all of that in the shop. And all that goes into it like in one big lump, yearly sum. And what I end up doing is say, all right, well, if I think that my throughput is going to be, let's say 300 cutting boards a year, then I'm going to have to figure out, okay, how much of that total yearly expense in overhead is going to divide out on to that throughput. And then obviously how much material is going to go into all of that. And then how much I want to make on top of that. But then, the other thing to consider with any type of what I would call smalls. So it's not just cutting boards, but it could be bowls. It could be kitchen utensils, any number of what you would commonly see, I guess, sold like on Etsy or something like that, or a craft fair. You're running into, well, what's the market going to bear for something like that, right? So you're going to kind of bump into a ceiling a little bit where, as I think if you are a custom furniture builder, there's probably a lot more latitude there. And if you've got more years, more experience, your name is more well known, you can charge a higher price for that same product. So you might be putting the same number of hours and then the same material into it, but you can charge a higher price. You can't really do that with cutting boards or small items like that. There's kind of a ceiling that you're going to bump into. So then it's really more of a numbers game, right? Like, how many of this item am I going to have to sell in order to really make the kind of money that I want to make for the year in that product? So that's just the other thing that you have to consider is a little bit of price sensitivity around how much is the market going to pay for the item that I'm producing. And it's a little bit more constrained than it might be for, say, custom built-ins in somebody's house or a desk or a bed or something like that.
Yeah.
I suppose if you built cutting boards that were more unique, not necessarily ingrained with certain patterns, but certain amenities that maybe an off-the-shelf cutting board wouldn't have. Like somebody pointed out to me whenever I was at this show that she found this cutting board long time ago, and she can't find another one like it. But it's basically like right here where the corner's at, there is a notch cut out that is the length of a bread knife handle. And there is a slot that runs down the length of that piece that's still left over, and the bread knife just slides right into that slot and is held in with a magnet.
Yeah.
And you always have a knife ready to cut bread. I mean, that's just something that's added to a board that stands you out from the crowd, that you can charge those higher than the ceiling rate kind of things because nobody else is going to have it.
But the other interesting thing, so you're right. I think if you can develop your own style that is recognizable, that you can attach to your brand, that's a good way to sort of build some cachet in your product that you might be able to squeeze out a little more profit on that product. but the interesting thing that I've found in at least in the products that I sell is it's an item that looks nice, but it's also supposed to be functional, right? So your customers are going to take a knife to it. And one thing that more than one customer has told me is, well, you've got really nice cutting boards and I really want one, but I just can't use it. Like I can't bring myself to cut on it and mess it up. And so there's a little bit of that I kind of have to keep in the back of my mind when I'm thinking about new products is, well, I need to make it nice. It needs to be attractive. It needs to be stylish. But it also has to be something that I'm going to convince them to spend that money on, knowing that they're going to take it and use it and chop on it and do all that kind of stuff. So unless they're, collecting it as more of an art piece for the kitchen, a show-off type thing, they might be willing to spend money on a really nice, fancy-looking board. But a lot of what I find is that they are afraid to use it if you make it too nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to find that sweet spot where they're willing to pay the money for something that they're going to use, but it still looks nice and attractive and catches someone's eye if they're throwing a get together or something and they're using it as a serving board and it becomes a talking piece.
Yeah. That's interesting how there are two different aspects. One for extremely custom builds, and then one that's just building a product to sell. But the one key aspect of it is still knowing your overhead, because if you're not charging more than your overhead, you're essentially never going to make money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, that's one of the areas that you can play with, even with the cutting boards, is you've got to at least make your material costs and your overhead back. You don't want to break even necessarily, but that's your bottom line. You got to know what your bottom line is to know where to price your work.
Yeah.
So, any more to add to that? I had to get up and leave for a brief second. So.
No,
I'm good.
Okay. Next question came from Mike Kraft. And this actually popped up today, I think, didn't it, Jeremy?
It
on
popped
Facebook?
up just about 2 hours before we sat down.
Right. So Mike wants, I'll just read this whole thing. He says, "What's up, guys? Hope this finds all of you doing great and doing today what you love the most. I just got done listening to episode 118, so I have a quick question regarding Facebook. My side business, J&M Carving Creations, has been doing pretty well this year. No complaining. But my question is spanned across two platforms. I get it that numbers are the make and break within Instagram.
Hashtags.
What did I say?
Numbers.
Oh.
Number sign?
Yeah, number sign.
God, you're old.
Hashtags. Sorry, y'all. I do know what a hashtag is. I just didn't read it that way. Hashtags that they make and break the numbers game in Instagram. You can't post pictures and expect to grow without solid hashtags. This is understood. I am slowly but surely figuring this out, which hashtags to use. However, Facebook is the butt kicker. You can have 1,500 to 2,500 views and only 25 likes. Do you guys perceive this as a negative? Or as my wife says, sometimes people just don't want to make the effort to hit the thumbs up button. What opinions do you guys have on this? It would seem to me that the way business has been going and the comments from people who buy my work, that there would be more likes. Any thoughts you have would be appreciated."
I mean, I don't know how that necessarily translates. But let's be real, Instagram's a bigger platform, in my opinion, towards business right now than Facebook. Facebook's a little bit more complicated to use, and I think that's why a lot of people have funneled away from it. I think that the ease of use and the ease of liking a picture on Instagram by just hitting the heart or being able to double tap the picture to automatically like it makes people more likely to like a picture. The ease of use. Facebook isn't, right? Like your wife said, you got to be able to move your thumb all the way over to the thumbs up button. You got to hit the thumbs up button, and then a lot of times you got the other like little row that pops up with the 5 or 6 emoticons that you get, that you choose which one you want, and so I think I don't know. In my opinion, I wouldn't really translate how many likes to how well your business is doing. But of course, I mean, if your business is primarily Facebook, you're going to want to put more effort and more emphasis on it, which means you're going to want to try to drive more traffic to get more page likes. You want more followers necessarily. But I would say if it's at least being viewed, you're at least getting in front of those people. Now, are you seeing sales? I think that's what matters. If you're not seeing the sales, then maybe you have to get more people to like your posts. But it really comes down to how is it affecting your business. If you're saying you're doing really well and you're only getting 25 likes, then I would essentially say that somebody liking your picture is not a big deal.
Plus, I heard that the views on Facebook work different than they do on Instagram, where Instagram you have to actually view the video through its entirety for it to count as a view. And Facebook is just like the first few seconds. And that just happens when people are just scrolling through their news feed. And that it just automatically just counts as a view once the video just starts playing. But I think Instagram works a lot different than that, which is why view counts on videos are so much smaller.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's my take on it is I wouldn't really care much about how many people like a photo. In fact, I can't tell you the last time that I actually cared what the numbers were on Facebook, just because I feel like I get way more interaction with customers and with like-minded people in the community through Instagram than I do Facebook. Facebook to me is just, it's getting to be over complicated with groups for this and pages for this and profiles and this. Like, it's just, I think there's just too much in that one platform that people get easily distracted. So, and that could be what it is. Like, somebody doesn't like it because something else pops up real quickly that they want to check out. Maybe they get a message, this or that. And I think that's part of Facebook's problem, is that there's so much going on there that people are easily distracted going, through it. They want to jump on Facebook Marketplace or, whatever it is. So,
Yeah, I think my own personal experience with it, obviously I've got a much larger following on Instagram, and I really am quite terrible at driving traffic to and engagement to Facebook. And I think, I have my own opinions about it. I don't have any hard data or anything like that to kind of back it up, but I do think there's a little bit to be said about the culture difference that you see on Instagram versus Facebook. I think Facebook being older and more established, I think they do have that sort of gawker, stalker culture a little bit more, where and I just see myself doing it, where I end up just scrolling through Facebook almost mindlessly, not really even seeking to engage that much or leave comments to even my own friends and family so much, but just really, if you want to say, catching up on the news or whatever of what's going on in people's lives just by looking at the content that they throw out there. But I don't even really myself find that I'm engaging on that platform very much. Versus on Instagram, I think that's really all anybody ever does is comment and like and engage a lot more. And then there's also, I think Facebook is a lot more tied down than Instagram is still. And Instagram, I think, is heading that way. But I think having to pay basically to get reach on Facebook is really killing the engagement there. Where your content that might kill on Instagram just doesn't really go anywhere or do anything on Facebook. And again, I don't know if that's a chicken and egg thing where people just culturally don't engage that much on that platform anymore, or it's that plus a combination of them putting a stranglehold on content and really making people who have business accounts, pay to get their stuff out there.
It's almost where you got to utilize the marketplace in order to start advertising and sell stuff on Facebook anymore, because just using a business page just isn't cutting it.
Yep.
Yeah, they really try to funnel you through their own sales funnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's Mike. I hope that answered your question. I hope we gave you some kind of insight, at least our opinions on the aspect there. So let's jump into a product recommendation. Drew, you want to go first? No, you've been dying for several weeks to get this one out.
Well, I wanted to bring it up on our first show with Jimmy, but it ran so long that we just kind of had to skip it. And I was actually going to show and tell it, but now I don't have it. But it was the Durista Ice Pick. I got one of those from Jimmy in person whenever I went to Skytook. I think it was just last summer. And I use that thing religiously. It goes everywhere with me. Even in the shop, if I'm just out working, I'll just keep it in my pocket because I use it for just a lot of things, especially installs on sheetrock and center punching for hardware, things of that nature. I just always have a use for it. Plus, you can use it as a marking knife whenever you need to. It's just got a multitude of utility use, and it's just one of those things that you really need to keep in your bag. So if you guys are interested, I know he's coming out with some more. He had a mass produced from China once upon a time, which is the one that I have, but I think he's gone back to making them himself. So he should be coming out with some more. But you guys got to pick yourself up one. They're good to have.
Yeah, I feel left out of that club.
Yeah, me too. So, all right. Well, Matt, what's something you want to recommend?
So I mentioned earlier that I built the little white oak whiskey cabinet, and so the first thing I wanted to do, I guess this would be a service. I wanted to shout out my buddy Matthew Morris at Wood Studio. He does, I guess, similar to what you would see at the Wood Whisperer Guild with online courses, but I guess a much smaller scale. But I actually signed up and paid for one of his courses, which is how I learned how to build that whiskey cabinet. So it is it's online video content along with the plans, and he's got several courses built out that he provides through his online school. So I just wanted to shout that out. I don't know if you guys have ever taken an online woodworking course like that before, but it is really, really great. He does a really great job, highly polished videos, good plans, and he's available. Obviously, he makes himself available for questions. If you've got questions or you need some help along the way, he's really good about that as well. So that's the first thing. And then I guess I'm going to shout out Moo as my other service. So I recently had new business cards printed up with them, product brochures and little flyers that I put in with my boards when I ship them out. Super, super high quality stuff, really good service, easy website to use to build out your designs. I highly recommend Moo. Oh yeah, there's Jeremy showing off. Yeah. Here's my for anybody that's watching this. That's my new business card. Nice. That's my black one. I've got a white one as well, but just really good design, quality to their business cards, especially. They almost have like a plastic feel, but they're just heavyweight paper.
How thick was it? It looked awfully thick.
So The one I have, I think 16 point.
Yeah, I think that it's.
They have like a 16 and 18 and like a 21 point, I think.
Let me see yours, Jeremy. I didn't see yours.
So this is what their Moo Mini card, and I designed them to be like a price tag, right? So on the back it's got just name, logo, and then tagline. And in fact, I mean, this is my old logo, so these won't be used anymore. But then on the other side, it's just got a circle, put my little logo up there again, and then a blank space over here. And so in that circle is where I'm going to write the price, $25 or whatever. And then I put the small description of it right here, Purple Heart ingrain cutting board or whatever. And I noticed that when I moved to like a nice professional looking name or price tag like this, and not either maybe punch a hole small in it and tie it to the item, or just place it in front of the item, that people really started paying attention to it. It just provided that little more of a professional appearance. And so I've been using Moo for the last, 4 or 5 years. But I got that idea from somebody, I don't even remember, to use their Moo mini cards as price tags. Yeah. And it's worked out. I like it. So
yeah, I saw Tyson Moore, if you're familiar with him on Instagram. He was at Workbench Con, and he had made up some new business cards that he brought. He was showing them off over there at Workbench Con, and I saw those and was really impressed by the quality and the weight of the paper and the design and all of that. And that's where I got the idea. So when I got back from there, I actually just I was in the right place stock wise where I needed to reorder a bunch of stuff. And so I gave them a try, and man, super impressed. Really, really high quality stuff. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you, Jeremy. I think that being able to give a more professional appearance to even something as ubiquitous as a business card just can help you stand off and just make your business look a lot better.
Yeah. Well, I like the fact that they offer a variety, right? So they offer your standard business card size. They offer the Moo mini business card size. They offer square. They have several different paper types. They have like their Lux line, which is like extremely. In fact, I had one somewhere here from their Lux line that's extremely thick. Here we go. And it's super thick. It's so thick that they have 3 different colors on the sides here. And they have gloss paper, they have matte paper, they have cotton, so many different varieties that you can almost essentially just kind of get what you like. And I think they're one of their claim to fame is I think it's called Printfinity. So you can essentially, if you order 500 cards, you can have a different design printed on every single 500 card. Every single card can be a different design for the same price. So
yeah, that's a great service.
Yeah, so maybe you have 2 or 3 different versions of your business card that you like. You have 500 of them printed at random, and then they'll send them all in a box, and they'll just be randomized in a box. So
I wish I'd have known about Moo because I just ordered new business cards. I actually used Vistaprint, but but I did do the same thing though. I mean, my logo and phone numbers on the front, and then I left the back open with my other logo for price tag and description, and those all get put on my product. But yeah, I kind of utilize the same thing, but I like the fact that you can order like the smaller versions, the square versions, just something that kind of stands out other than a plain Jane business card. Yeah.
Now, be aware, they are substantially more for business cards from Moo. But if you watch out, they do. I think right now they're doing like a 15 or 20% off around the holidays. They do like a 25 or 30% off. So they do put out coupon codes quite a bit. but they are more expensive. You know, you can't get, like, I think Vistaprint, their claim to fame was like 500 cards for $9 or something. You're not going to get that with Moo, but you're going to get the quality of and the, to me, the better quality card with them. So
Very cool.
All right. Well, I'm going to recommend a product / service. I'm going to recommend hairpinlegs.com, and they're the company that I purchased my metal legs for the coffee table, and they don't just do hairpin legs. They do X-brace legs. They do like a square tubular leg. They have so many different designs over there of legs. They also sell like bar stools and a bunch of other things. So if you're in the market for a hairpin leg or a metal leg, and I think they actually do custom work too, so if you want like something specific, I think they actually do that. Ian is the I guess the founder or the CEO over there, and he's a pretty awesome guy. I've talked to him a few times. So if you're in that market or you just want to add metal to your next build, try to step outside the normal, I encourage you to check out hairpinlegs.com. So,
all right. Well, let's move into a little kickback. We got something here from Buckeye Brew. He just wanted to say, hi, all. I finally caught up on all the podcasts a few weeks ago, so I wanted to say that it has been nice to see the podcast mature a bit. Like I said, a bit. I really got into woodworking and welding about 2 years ago to make a TV stand for my wife. Since then, I've been deployed, Army, and have a daughter. So that has fueled an even greater appreciation for making things. Thank you, Jeremy, for your service. Well, thank you for your service, Buckeye Brew. I have greatly enjoyed the couple of Drew's videos that I have watched. Last but not least is Sam the second, who is great on her own, but definitely has a great family behind her. Go Gramps. Keep up the great work. So thanks a lot for that kickback. That's awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It's things like this that make us decide we're going to record next week instead of being like, whatever. It's your guys' appreciation that makes us want to come back for more.
It's like we only have our patrons and Sam's mom that listens to us. So
yeah. I mean, I'm not entirely sure our patrons listen to us either. They just pay us.
They're wondering where their money's going, really.
Yeah. They're like, oh, wait, you do a podcast? I thought we were just giving you money. I had no idea.
Well, we'd also like to remind you all that if you listen to the show on iTunes, please head on over there right now and give us a 5-star rating if you haven't done so already. It helps us reach a greater audience and gives us more incentive to keep going. It's always nice to see when we get a good review. We always like to share them around. So if you haven't done it already, head over there and do that. So before we end the show, we want to thank Matt, first of all, for joining us on as a special guest. But we also want to give out contact information for you, Matt, in case people don't know how to reach you, which if they're on Instagram, I'm sure they do. But why don't you go ahead and let people know what they can do to contact you if they got questions?
Absolutely. So probably the easiest way to get a hold of me is on Instagram. That's kind of my main gig. But if you just Google MWA Woodworks, you're going to basically find me everywhere that I am. If you need a cutting board, you can go to shopmwawoodworks.com, and you can also reach me through there.
All right, very cool. Well, since Sam is not here, I'll go ahead and give her contact info. Basically, go to samryandesigns.com. You'll find contact information for her, as well as Jeremy and myself. We each have our own respected websites, which is countrysideworkshop.com and rhwoodshop.com. Contact sections are there. You can send us feedback, questions, whatever you got, and we'd love to feature those on the show as well. But if you want to contact the show individually, for all three of us at the same time, you can send us an email via kickback@woodshop101podcast.com. You can also leave us a voicemail, which we'd like to feature on air. So you can ask questions or just leave us kickback that way. And that is area code 409-234-3959. And if you have the voice memo app on your phone, you can record whatever you got onto that and send it to the email that I just mentioned. And anything like that, we love to play on air. I know that we haven't had some in a while, and we'd really like to hear some soon. So that just about does it. So, Matt, I greatly appreciate you being on. It's been fun.
It's been great.
Well, I'm super honored to be on the show, and I also just want to give you guys a shout out for juggling your recording schedule and then rejuggling it to fit my crazy life and everything that I have going on. It's super tough to be able to make solid plans and have it fit everybody's schedule, but I really do appreciate you guys. You are super gracious in helping me get on the show, so thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah. And I always want to thank Jeremy because he does a lot of the legwork for this show. This was kind of his baby to begin with, and I was just invited along for the ride. So Jeremy does a lot of heavy lifting for this show. So I thank you for that too.
Very well, appreciate it. I couldn't do it without you and Sam. Nobody would listen to just me. So.
And that'd be a unique thing, right? Like a one man monologue podcast. That'd be
just talk to myself and answer myself.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's see. So let's go to the phones. There's nobody there, so
we'll just. Oh wait, somebody's calling. Oh, hello. Oh hey, how are you? Oh, I'm doing good.
Honey, thanks for calling in. I appreciate that. Well, like I said, it's been a fun episode. We're going to have you back on the next episode, so be sure and stay tuned next week, everyone, and listen to our short episode with Matt. He's going to have some great info to share. So basically, from Matt, Jeremy, the ghost Sam, I was trying to think of a good word to call her, but since she's not here, and myself, we want to wish you guys well. Please be safe in your shops. We hope to hear from you on the next podcast episode. So 1, 2, 3, boom! Boom!